Peace in, folks. How you doing? Use of force, positive mental attitude. You know how we do. So this is going to be a little bit different because I've spoken about a document I'd like to see created to try and unify activist movements in a united goal for the same future that we all want. So I started writing it. I've done a rough start. It's 13 key points with a little bit of context to it, and this is very sparse. This is not what I would like to see the final document to be, but at least it's an open start. So I have called this Declaration for Humanity, a document for marches and the reform of the structure of society. So this is about actual unifying of people and the implementation of our goal. And so what I thought I'd do is I'd read you what I've written and I'll say what I'm going to say afterwards, whatever that may be. So anyway, it starts off: Declaration for Humanity, a document for marches and the reform of the structure of society. To the people, from the people, by the people, for the people. So I've started out here. The people's platform is to be established. We will create an app, a social media site for the community issues, as well as integrating that with community hubs, which will have tech infrastructure and global community. So what that basically is, and it sounds a bit wishy-washy off the cuff without having any true serious depth to it, but there is. This is like a rough outline of a vision. I believe if we have community hubs where organisation is done from locally, and then they can connect to other hubs that are local, and any national and global issues can be very much and very easily sorted out, and you don't need to implement this one rule for all, apart from the rules we agree to, right? And at the end of this, just to say, I actually say on the last piece of the document, the freedom of choice to live outside and separate from this structure must exist. Freedom of choice is paramount. So bear that in mind with what I'm talking about. I'm being really community minded here. At the start, basically, we start out with law was the first thing I actually wrote. So after I wrote that little piece about starting a people's platform, which I think is a good idea for being able to actually communicate, I've actually started a Facebook group called the People's Platform for the people that want constructive input can come and start talking about this. I don't want to be a leader. I don't want to be no one's boss, but I've seen something, I feel something, so I'm acting on it. So I've put here code of conduct. No insults are to be used in discussions on the people's platforms. All people must be heard and shown respect. Breaking the code of conduct will result in a 3-year ban. So that's looking forward to what the Freedom Platform would be. The Freedom Platform, the People's Platform, right? And that would be a place of actual communication. It's not about coming and calling people sheeple. You can do that anywhere, right? If you want to insult other people, you can do that. But this is about actual constructive input. Even if it's the tiniest, smallest little thing that you might think is insignificant and not worth it, it's worth saying because it might trigger a thought in someone else that then triggers a thought pattern that leads to a great idea. So I believe these ideas need to come to fruition. So I'd like to see that happen. So there's the code of conduct I just stated there. So now I just start out and I've just made 13 points. So first is common law must rule from immediate effect. We must revise it to make sure it's in line with human and planetary rights. All corporation exemptions from law are hereby dismissed, and all corporations must now be held responsible for by a human. So corporation cannot be exempt from anything, and it must be accountable to a human, because corporations are given human laws without having human responsibility. So anyway, and these aren't in like order of importance. This is just like, you know, I've sat down and just, you know, I'm writing out. So 2, all previous government acts and statutes must be put on hold, revised in line with human and planetary rights. Okay, this is important that we, anyway. The planet must be given an actual status as provider of life and must be respected as such by law. We have to respect the planet we live on, or we're not going to be able to live on it, you know. Education reform instantly. I put here, no agendas are to be taught, and true objective research must be instigated. Now, on all of these matters, let me say, I may write my piece to start with, but this is all to be expanded on, to be input put in, what you feel is important for education. But for me, I feel that a very important form of education, or a way of going about it, is not to have this silly structure and you're graded on crap. You should be demonstrating you can learn, and you have objective thinking, and that you can bring information together to come to a reasonable end. And there are ways of grading how someone would go about doing that, so a system could be very easily implemented. That's my thoughts anyway. Learning to read and write is the first and only structured teaching. Self-taught assessments will be graded upon and agreed upon. So yeah, that really, the assessments graded upon and agreed method should be something that's spoken about, and, you know, people, it's, you know, anyway. Total reform of the government structure, no more leaders, meaning no one person with power. All positions holding the power of choice must consist of, say, 7 or 9 members, so it's an odd number. It's got to be either a complete majority vote, or like it's got to either be a complete yes, or maybe if there's sort of areas where voting would be in place, maybe some things aren't important enough to need to have a full-on vote about it, and maybe everything is. You know, maybe the thing we vote about needs to be everyone must say yes or it doesn't happen. Maybe some things, everyone, you know, it's a majority vote. Everyone's gone, look, we're happy to put this stuff into a majority rules vote because none of us are that fussed either way what happens with it. Whereas the really important things, like, say, sending soldiers to war, that must be everyone says yes or it doesn't happen. So it's got to, things have to be compelling as to why we have to do them. It's not just fucking, let's go and steal land from these people and dominate their resources. Do you know what I mean? It's not acceptable. So total reform. So yeah, just basically stating how there shouldn't be any leaders. All positions should have 7 to 9 members based upon their credentials, and they should be voted into them positions. And so basically the whole idea of this number 5 idea is just to absolutely create true democracy and true society. That's, you know. So 6, we need to address those in prison for weed charges. They should be released immediately. If alcohol is being sold, which is a highly poisonous substance, it's ridiculous that things like weed or some psychedelics and stuff, basically the whole thing of drug needs to be addressed. Pharmaceutical drugs, natural drugs, man-made drugs, all needs to be addressed, because what we do to ourselves must be our own responsibility, but in turn, therefore, what we expect to get from the community in terms of health should also be our own responsibility. So we should, you know, as a responsible person, if I, you know, smoke, I should state that on something so I don't get smoke-related medical health for free. I would have to pay a surcharge for that, right? Fair enough. Or not, you might disagree with me. This is the point of making this all totally out. So yeah, address that. 7, we need basic housing for all. We can create container homes quickly, cheaply and planet friendly for anyone who needs a roof, with basic human amenities. Food tokens if necessary, could be allocated to a person per month. So all that's really demonstrating is no one should be without a roof, without basic communities, you know, electricity, solar power, fucking water, you know, food. There's no reason why that can't happen on a very basic level. Basic food, you know, here is some potatoes and some vegetables and, you know, meat 3 times a week or something, right? Like, there's your 2-storied container home that's got a nice bathroom, a living room, you know, you've got your mod cons, right? Like, cool, you're set, but you don't have anything else, right? You want to then earn money, you've got to work, right? Like everyone. You don't then you don't get given anything that you can go and buy with. You just get given the basic, and everyone all over the world should have that. There should be no one that doesn't have something as basic as that, with the technology we've got and the amount of empty containers we've got floating around the oceans. So, you know, we could clean the oceans up a little bit, couldn't we? We need basic housing, so we've done that. 8 community centres must be established for local organisations and meetings. So this is the community centres I mentioned at the beginning that I would call local hubs, and these hubs can turn into a network. So number 9, a new currency must be agreed upon that is free from corruption. Things like Bitcoin and surrounding entities should be studied, right? So, okay. 10, all religions, faith, spiritual beliefs are equal in standing and none shall be shown any favour. It's free to have faith, but no one should be free from collective contribution. Right, I did this thing, where did I put it? Oh, it was on tax when it's there. I should have put that one before this one, but you know, it's just the start of something, isn't it? So all religions should be, basically, if a religion earns money off of people, then it's a business and must pay coin like all businesses. Here I've put tax, right? So tax should exist, but what I've done is called it coin. You know, community, organisation, infrastructure, necessities, right? That's what coin is. Community, organisation, infrastructure, necessities. Everybody in the local community should input a bit of coin, right, for whatever the community needs, right? And that can all be established on multiple levels. There's ways around it, right? So but basically just saying that if you're a corporation, if you employ people, you pay coin. Simples. But I've also then written, community spirit is at the heart of this document and shall be recognised in all forms. Fair is fair, faith is free. However, if it would seem fair that if a group of people want to donate to a worthy cause, then that is their free rights. Do you see what I'm saying? So 12, instantly review all military stations and recall as many as positively possible without causing more harm. We've got to be very aware of what the military's been used for and where they've been and some of the stuff they've had to do. It's not nice for the soldiers. It's really, you know, we've got to address what's happening with the military, right? So 13, we must address how we treat retired and those that are too old to look after themselves efficiently. And I think this pandemic has demonstrated that beautifully. Many old people died because of many different ill treatments throughout this whole last year, and that's unacceptable. So the freedom of choice to live outside and separate from this structure must exist. Freedom of choice is paramount. We can't create a dictatorship, right? I'm trying to demonstrate that through everything I'm saying. If we create another dictatorship, if we create another system that perpetuates the problems of the past, we're just going to keep going around in circles. As I say in lots of videos, I'm putting it in writing and putting some ideas out, and this I'm gonna spread. This is just like my first port of call is to make a video and share it with you beautiful people. But I will now be talking to as many different people as I can and offering this forward and trying to fight, because I just believe that if any true activist groups wants any real healthy change, then we're going to have to implement that. It looks like we're definitely going over the 15 minutes, so anyone on Instagram is just going to have had the short link and they'll have to come and have a little look over on YouTube, won't they? So freedom of choice to live outside of this, separate from the structure that we create. is paramount. People must still have free choice. If people are like, do you know what, I don't like, you know, this structure, right? I feel oppressed by it. Cool, man. Pick a spot of land on the earth. Go live there. Cool. So what? I don't think they should therefore then also get all the benefits and the, you know, I would choose to live outside of this society if I could. And also, I say that and instantly I think, do you know what? Just pretty much freedom of choice. If you want to live in it, live in it. If you want to live out of it, live out of it. No rules around it, right? Like, you know, if you can earn yourself money and, you know, you can still, you know, I don't see why anyone wouldn't want a part of this, to be honest with you. But still, you know, that's just me, you know. Oh, positive mental attitude written on my arm. I want to see a good future. And I reckon we can do it. So I've then just written like a little bit afterwards. And I'll say a little bit. It's a little bit more than a little bit. So we're just going to read it to you. So this is now about the community hub. So I say the community hub is to be the centre of all local issues with locally appointed organisers and operators. This makes moving easy, working easy, finding food and drink easy. No matter where in the world you are from, you can arrive at your destination and sign in at your community hub, in person or online. From the accommodation to work can be arranged. Obviously, this can be arranged in advance due to the internet. We can check availability of an area, either pre-book or simply turn up, say hello, log into your local hub. So, what I'm trying to do is just get this concept of the hub out, which I think is the key point to localising power, but unifying globally. So, I'm simply putting forward the start of what I hope to be a document that will help all people globally into a community of growth and support. I truly believe if we localise and simplify, we can grow exponentially, healthily. This is just my first draft, and the purpose for it is to be added to and revised and engaged with it. My hope is to first join groups of people that protest, march, rally, speak for freedom in a unified movement towards a society free from domination and corruption. As much as we can possibly get it, right? From there, so my hope is to join the groups. From there, it'd be nice to see this united movement start to implement this document. Time and patience will be needed, and I'm by no means a daydreamer. But we need to take a united move forward, where it looks like we will simply repeat the past mistakes. I want to finish on my biggest point of this document. No leaders. No leaders. At all. No leaders. We can't have any. Sorry. Get out. I want to finish this on my biggest point of this document, which is no leaders. As you can see, this doesn't mean no law, no structure, no security, or no community. In fact, it means the total opposite. It enforces community, it integrates community, and it benefits community. No one person or group should have the power of our choice. No one person or group should have the power of our choice. Our laws should be protected by the people. Our laws should be protected for the people and by the people's army. And that army must only act when the people have chosen. So unless stated, the army should act as an extension of the police, but in a larger sense. Because, you know, we are not going to simply make a document that will bring about peace and prosperity. There are powers that will try and stop this. They may try and kill people. This is why I state no leaders. If you cut the head off a snake, the body goes limp. So if we have a document, not a leader, the movement can't be killed, as we are all the leaders. No one leader, we are all leaders of ourselves. And if we have a unified document and that is the leader and it's foolproof, then what can stop that? If this document can be grown and revised and signed and agreed upon by all activists, for want of a better word, then we can start a movement, in my eyes, that won't be stopped. I have posted the writing to that into the People's Platform group on Facebook. So you can come to the People's Platform group on Facebook and you can read that document, because I just definitely fluffed it. You can listen to it again here, whatever you like. But, you know, let's think about it. Let's talk about it. But let's not ignore it, right? Like, one person can't change the world, right? Thank fuck there's so many of us out here trying, right? Or just simply doing, right? Just by getting up and joining people. Just the simple first step of joining a group and talking to people about situations is unifying. So I am keen to see real change, and the code of conduct I've put on the People's Platform group on Facebook is literally manners. If you can't have them, go away, because for now we need to build constructive conversation, and if we cannot have constructive conversation, we're not going to move forward. So I am stating it's a place for constructive conversation, because therefore anyone that tries to do anything else is clearly of their own agenda, trolling in whatever fashion that comes. I don't care. I've got no time for it. This is about real, active, healthy change for the people, by the people. So what I've set out is a starting point. It's nothing. But if we can take to it in our groups, and if we can promote this, then we will enact healthy change. Or at least that's my view for now. That's how I see things. That's why I'm acting on it. So for now, it's the People's Platform on Facebook. It's a group. If you care to be involved, great. I'm going to start sending my ideas out to different groups in the hope of having some conversations with the group leaders, the group organisers, right? The people who started the group that are active. Right, and anyone who wants to come from their group that has constructive things to say and they want to input into the future of our society, they should come. This is not about excluding. This is not about hierarchy. This is about leveling the playing platform and creating something healthy for the people, by the people. So anyway, I think I've made my point for today. I hope you're all well. I really do. Let's use the force. Positive mental attitude. Be kind with your thoughts to yourselves like you would for others. Keep loving your hearts for yourselves like you would for others. And let's get it. Get what, John? Awareness, of course. Peace in.